Chris Jimenez, and it's good to have you with us here, sir. Chris is a Marine Corps veteran. He's a husband and father, a small business owner, and he is running, as we know, for state representative for House District 52. So, Chris, again, welcome, and
Thank you.
please tell us why you need to be in that seat and what you want to do there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me just give you a little bit about who I am, my background, and what I intend to do for those of you who don't know me. First off, thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. Um, but as you said, yes, my name is Chris Jimenez. I'm running for House District 52, and I'm very proud to be the nominee. Um, since the primaries, we have been identified as one of the top five most flippable seats here in Texas by the DLCC and the HDCC. So we've got a lot of momentum behind our movement. But backtracking a bit on who I am, I come from a working family. I am an average Joe neighbor. I am your neighbor, your friend, your coworker type of guy. I've done everything from sweeping warehouse floors as a little boy named Chris to managing millions in oil and gas leasehold assets as Mr. Jimenez. Uh, but now, as Mike eloquently put it out there, I am a dad, husband, and Marine veteran. And those three jobs over everything I've ever done are the hardest because they come with the most responsibility. And that's because that responsibility never ends. And that's why I decided to get involved in politics. I'm a first time candidate, don't have an extensive list of donor networks and things like that. But I do believe that my background, being a Marine, they gave me the things that I need to succeed, like values, discipline, sacrifice, and service. Those things were definitely reinforced. And so I think those types of things carry into the office. When I left the Marine Corps, I became a family man. I met my wife, had my daughter, who's now in high school, which is crazy how time flies. But that's why I do this. It's for those two and for everybody else. I want to fight as hard for the constituents of 52 as I fight for my own family. Um, but 6 years ago, we moved from Houston here to Wilco, which we love. We live in a little ranch in Elgin, which is annexed into Wilco. Um, so in the last 3 years, we've had some major challenges from those 3 points that I mentioned: dad, husband, and Marine. Um, I don't know what my daughter's future looks like. It is very bleak, and I think all of us can understand why. When that comes to the job market, that comes to the housing, that comes to overall affordability, things are looking really, really scary. Not to mention as a husband, I have a wife and daughter, and both of the, women in my family have less rights than they had just a couple of years ago. And so I'm feeling, I'm seeing our Constitution, I'm seeing some of the things that should have been concreted into law, backtracked. And that's very concerning for our future. As a Marine, freedom of our speech, religion, expression, all these things are happening. And so that's why I decided to fight back, right? There's a lot of work to do. We've got to fully fund our public schools. We've got to figure out ways to lower costs, all doing that while trying to defend our rights, which are constantly under threat. So we've got a lot of work to do, but we've got a lot of momentum. We've got a lot of good people running this cycle. As everybody knows, we've got candidates in every race. They're going to have to fight us for it, like Kendall Scudder said, which is I am so behind that. That is something I'm so behind. This is not an election cycle that we have the luxury to say, okay, well, let's just see what happens next time. We need to get it right. We need to fight. We need to be doing, all the block walking we can. We need to be having all the crucial conversations that we can. We know that they can be polarizing at times, but I think now, whenever is the time to continue having them so that we don't regress because as Heather said, we've got somebody in the White House that is taking us back a number of years. And so as we fight, our community here in our county, that's where we can see, some of the biggest effects of change. And so that's why it is so important to vote all the way down ballot to get good people into office, because this is not sustainable. This is stuff we already know, but we have to keep on going. And that's why I'm here, and that's what I intend to do.
Thank you very much, Chris. So we're getting some questions for you.
Absolutely.
Data centers. So the first one was one from Kidiki. What will you do if elected to minimize air pollution from data center power plants, especially those authorized under TCEQ standard permits?
So we need to have, we need to educate folks. If you asked us about data centers 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we would have been, questioning you, what is a data center? Um, I think people need to understand how they operate so that we can understand what we need to do when it comes to the water issues, when it comes to the air pollution and things like that. As a Marine, um, our insignia is a eagle, globe, and anchor, and those signify the land, air, and sea operations that we conduct. And I kind of look at that lens through or I look at that through an environmental lens, where I need to protect the air, land, and sea. And although we don't have the sea and we're landlocked, we do have water problems, big time here,
Yeah.
and that falls under that. But we need to understand how they impact the environment. And they just didn't give us that data. We didn't have a seat at the table. And as you all watch the news, um, even if we do go to commissioner's court, they still don't listen. So there's a lot of stuff to fight for. But I hope that answers your question. We need a lot more education, because we're doing this type of stuff under the radar, just hoping that we don't have enough bandwidth to follow up on it. You're muted, Mike.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Chris. So from Heidi, what can be done to stop school vouchers from expanding?
So I've heard people talk about accountability, and since it's already here, we need to have accountability. I think that when I get to office, we need to repeal this. This needs to be completely reversed. Taking money out of public schools is a very dangerous thing. As we know here in our state, there are a lot of communities that the high school or the schools in their town are the entities that employ the most. And so they kind of prop the city or town up. Um, but that's just one thing, right? They're cutting programs, or cutting us SPED programs and things like that. Um, a lot to address. But to the point, I need to reverse that stuff. I don't think that keeping vouchers alongside, like, it's just not going to work. It's not sustainable. Um, and we're taking money from the most vulnerable. It's just not going to work.
Thanks. From Rick, so we're hoping to flip the Texas House blue, but if we don't, and you win, we know you're going to win, and you're in the minority, what do you see as things you can do, levers you can pull, policies that still might be possible when Republicans won't even let us be part of the policy conversations on committees?
Well, see, I'm a I'll be a freshman legislator, and what I've heard is that my hands will be tied once I get there, and I understand why they would want to do that. So my angle is to um, essentially find things that benefit the constituents of Wilco, based on what we hear, um, to represent. It's a hard thing to answer right now. Like I said, as a freshman legislator, I'm not exactly sure what to expect. I'm not sure how easy things will be to get into, but I'm easy to work with. I'm a very rational person, and I think that once I get into conversations with people that are of whatever belief, even something to the opposing me, I typically have a way of working with that person and helping them see more of a macro level picture than some pigeonholed viewpoint that they might have. And when I do that, typically we get more, you know, you get more with sugar than you would with vinegar, essentially.
Okay. Thank you. So from Patrick, Patrick thanks you for your service and asks, what are your specific goals you would seek to accomplish for your agenda, Chris?
So my goals are what I hear our constituents talk about. That is going to be overall general affordability from all angles, right? From property taxes to gas and things like that, and utilities. That's also another thing to kind of go back to the other question. That's another thing that the data centers kind of have an issue with is we will see rising costs when it comes to our energy. Um, so that's something, that's just going to be that much more unaffordable. And it
Okay.
already is.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. So back to education from Lisa. Chris, have you considered bringing compliance with national and state educational standards to the charter and homeschool environment?
Can you repeat the question? Let me check that. You cut out
Yeah,
there.
have you considered, in other words, I think this what we're, if I rephrase it, making charter and homeschool uh, schools comply with national and state educational standards.
Yes, I think if they're going to be dipping into public funds, I think then yes, there needs to be way more transparency, uh, and reviews of the curriculum. Uh, of course, absolutely,
Okay, thank you. One more question I'm going to squeeze in. We're a little over time, but
absolutely, for
there's a
sure.
lot. It's, we're, if, this Rick, if I am when we do win and flip the House, Senate, and all the other offices blue, what is the first thing the party should do as its signature move going into the session here in Texas?
Oh my gosh,
Where do you
that's a
start?
good question, and you're trying to get me in trouble. Uh,
No way, we don't want to do that.
yeah, that is a good question. I'm not sure. I do. I just saw something distract me about Tellerico's endorsement. That I don't know. Um,
You saw that one.
it distracted me from your question, but if you don't mind repeating it, I'd love to answer it.
Uh, sure, when we do win and flip the House, Senate, and every other office in the state blue, what is the first thing the party should do as its signature policy move?
Well, when we saw fascism in other parts of the world, we ended up having trials. We ended up, having accountability for some of the wrongs and some of the atrocities that have been done. Um, I think that needs to happen. I don't think anybody on this call wants a repeat of Jan 6.
Uh,
I think we all know and love the America, that we all remember, and we don't recognize it anymore. And so that's my goal.
okay. Okay, well, listen, thank you very much for coming,
Here,
Chris. We really
thanks.
appreciate it.